The Toronto Blue Jays are assembling a dream team staff, and they have made their new recent hire in James Click, who is the former Astros GM for those dynasty teams. So we'll break that down on this episode of Jays Digest, as well as the upcoming Blue Jays game against Atlanta Braves today. We'll have that and much more coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside a host, Nick. Some breaking news out of Jays land, so we wanted to bring it to you here first. It's the hiring of James Click, so we'll get into that very shortly, but we want to thank you for all the support that we've gotten on our pregame live streams, on our post-game videos. It's just been incredible, so thank you all for the support, and we're going to keep it going all spring long, all season long. Don't even worry about that.
Yeah, you guys have been great. We're on the road to 6.5 thousand subscribers, so make sure to hit the button if you enjoy the daily content. You guys have been doing phenomenal, like you said. But let's get into the big news that came out of Jays land today. Obviously, the Jays do play a game today, which we will be having covering either in a video or live stream later tonight. But that video game is kind of, there's not many regulars in there. So this is kind of the big news that took over. John Morrissey News. James Click, former Astros GM, hired by Blue Jays as the Vice President of Baseball Strategy. And Ben Nicholson-Smith went in and kind of discussed it more. He said, per Jays, James Click will work closely with General Manager Ross Atkins and department heads on strategic planning, decision-making, and evaluation. He will work across both professional and amateur levels to identify the best practices, develop plans, and implement strategies. The Astros reached the ALCS in all 3 seasons with Click, who inherited an excellent roster, of course, but Click's contract was a talking point during the playoffs. Astros offered 1-year deal. Sides parted ways. Meanwhile, former Jays exec Dana Brown is now Houston's GM. We do have more screenshots to get into, but Peter, let's get your initial thoughts on this as Twitter. And, of course, we all know who James Click is, but I didn't even know the Jays were in the running for this guy. Kind of came out of nowhere, and it's looking like a really, really good end to a great offseason.
Yeah, I'm sure many teams had backed off just because of the whole cheating scandal and all of that. But there's no doubt that the Houston Astros are a dynasty. Trash cans or no trash cans, and they know how to develop players. And they are truly the greatest team of the 2010s, apart from maybe the Dodgers. They have just found so much success, especially later on in the decade, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon. I think there's a real chance that they make it back to the World Series and have a good chance to win it again. So he was a big part of that. They developed players very well, like Alex Bregman. George Springer was one of those
Jordan
players that
Alvarez.
got developed through the Astros. Jordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve came up through the system. They know how to work their roster and get the most out of their players. Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, all these guys are Houston Astro products. So I'm very excited to see James Click work alongside the development team and the front office as well, because he knows how to win at that level. And all this experience that they're getting, whether it be Don Mattingly, Victor Martinez coming in, now you have James Click, it's just invaluable experience, and it'll help. This reminds me a lot of the Raptors in 2019 when they were bringing in, a lot of 1-year commodities like Phil Handy, who was an assistant coach, and just a bunch of different pieces to try and win this season. And it seems like the Jays are going all in.
Yeah, and he, like you said, he was a great GM for the Astros, whether, putting everything else aside, he was phenomenal. And people on Twitter tended to agree. Say James Click is one of the smartest guys in baseball. The Astros made it to at least the ALCS every year since he was the GM. Even if it's short term, you can bet he's going to make an impact. And a couple final reactions from Ben and Delaney and Arden Zwelling as well, saying that Ross Atkins says he began talking with James Click after or about a possible role in the club's front office shortly after his departure. He had other options over the course of the winter, but ultimately chose the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays stood out. And we've seen this over the past few years with Kevin Gausman, George Springer. Most recently, Kevin Kiermaier, of course, had several other options. The Jays are finally, a team that everyone, or a lot of people at least, are excited to see. And the final thing is, and I'll get your opinion on this before I move on, but would you say that the Blue Jays had one of the best off seasons in franchise history? Because Thomas Hall has seemed to think so. Obviously, you had Don Mattingly, James Click, obviously, every other, Chris Bassett, the big trade. What were your thoughts on the offseason as a whole now that it's pretty much officially under wraps? Besides maybe one more slight move that may occur.
It started off very slow, and I got to give Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro so much credit, because every move seemed to have been planned out. They knew what they had to do in the offseason. Fans were panicking, but they did not panic. and they stayed the course, and they made every move that they needed to make along the way. And now this team is one of the deepest that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Now, obviously, I've only been watching the Jays for maybe 12 to 15 years, I'd say, very closely. But in recent memory, this is probably the deepest team since 2015. You know, when they were making those runs to the ALCS, and I really think they have a legitimate shot to challenge in the American League as well for a World Series. And every move was the right move, and they've pushed all the right buttons, and they faced so much criticism, that is the front office, and they just pulled through. And look at what we have now. I don't think we've ever been this excited for a Blue Jays season, especially not in March.
Yeah,
You know?
it's we're ready to go, and the offseason was phenomenal. Let us know what your thoughts are on that. Where would you rank the offseason as in Blue Jays history since you guys have been watching the Jays? But let's move on now. A couple small topics. This was just released 15 minutes ago as of recording that Chris Bassett is officially starting tomorrow. So it won't be Ricky Tiedemann, unfortunately, yet, but it will be Chris Bassett. Ben Wagner posted good news. Chris Bassett will make his Blue Jays spring debut on Sportsnet Tuesday in Detroit at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Berrios will be pitching in the other game with the Phillies. And, of course, should be lots of fun to watch Bassett and Berrios tomorrow with both games televised. So we're going to have our hands full tomorrow, Peter, covering all that. Because there's two games going at once. We have Berrios, who's very interesting to see. Chris Bassett, obviously, is a new acquisition. So do you have any quick thoughts on that or what we expect to see out of, Berrios is probably the bigger story for me tomorrow. But I'll digress.
We got to be ready to go for tomorrow, Nick. There's going to be a lot of content to cover. I think Bassett's the bigger storyline for me making his debut. I expect to bounce back out of Barrios, and I think he's going to try to get some serious work in tomorrow because the World Baseball Classic is around the corner. It's not too far away, and he's got to be ready for that. It's some real competitive baseball. So I expect Jose Barrios to be taking his innings and every pitch very seriously, and I'm excited for both games.
I agree, and I'm excited to see both, and we'll have lots of content for you tomorrow, whether it be in live stream form or video form. We'll make sure to cover you guys on that. But let's get into the final topic now, which is very quick, which is a game that's about to start as of the time of recording, which is the Jays versus Braves quick preview. And I'll pop the lineup up right here now for the Blue Jays, which is, of course, today. And not many, phenomenal players or standout players playing. Obviously, you have Drew Hutchison pitching, which has been interesting. Winton Bernard, who's made a bit of an impact out there. Vinny Capra once again. Nathan Lukes, Espinal, Horwitz. And then on the Braves side, which is a bit more of the intriguing story, this game, of course, is not televised on Sportsnet, but they have their almost full lineup in with one of their better pitchers in Max Fried pitching. Peter, do you have any thoughts on this game? By the time this video goes out, it'll probably be around the first inning, so we'll be watching that online. But what are your thoughts on, on the Jays lineup versus the Braves?
Well, yeah, just a couple notable things there for the Jays. Obviously, Espinal, we expect him to play a lot in the course of a season. And I don't think Otto Lopez has ever hit cleanup in his life, but now he's hitting cleanup in spring training for the Toronto Blue Jays. So that'll be something interesting. And him, Nathan Lukes, and probably Winton Bernard are battling for a spot on the team. I don't know if any of them are going to get it with the emergence of Addison Barger, but it's going to be interesting to see. And Drew Hutchison, it could be another depth piece that we haven't been mentioning for that fifth starter spot. And then if you go to the Braves, we'll see that just locked and loaded lineup. Ronald Acuna, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Sean Murphy. It's just so many big names. And one guy that really stands out to me is Vaughn Grissom, their shortstop, who is probably the biggest reason as to why they were okay with Dansby Swanson going somewhere else. He's really legit, and he's so good. I can't wait to see that full lineup. Whether the Jays win or lose, I don't really care. I just want to see some baseball and see all those superstars in action.
Yeah, like you said, if you're a Braves fan, this game will probably be a lot of fun. And if you're a Jays fan, it's fun to see, I guess, Drew Hutchison and, Espinal back out there is the only real major leaguer who's playing. You have Clark and Berman and Vinny Capra, who's gotten some playing time recently. It's a bit of a battle. This game kind of, look at lots of at-bats. Nathan Lukes is someone to keep an eye out for. Obviously, he was kind of the guy that was originally going to be battling, but with all the acquisitions, we kind of need someone who's more of a left-handed hitter against Mash's left-handed pitching, sorry. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game. If you guys aren't able to watch it, we'll have some sort of breakdown on whether it be in video or live stream form. But hopefully the Jays are able to keep it close, and maybe Drew Hutchison has a bounce-back outing. But that'll wrap it up. Do you have any final thoughts before I wrap it up?
Yeah, this will test your fandom if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan. I mean, if you're watching this game, you bleed Blue Jays through and through, and I respect it.
Yeah, and we're going to be coming at you with lots of content. There's tons, especially tomorrow. There'll be 2 games on the go. So we'll see you there. Thank you for all the support. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you tomorrow or later tonight, depending on what kind of video you're tuning into.